I think sometimes we all get into the habit of wanting and convincing ourselves that we need that new thing, new car, new house, new whatever, latest and greatest. In the world of sampling, if something is recorded really, really well, in my mind, it becomes timeless. A prime example of that is what we're going to talk about today, which is the Apocalypse Ensemble Percussion Library from Soundiron. This is their flagship library. It is over 10 years old. If you can't make things sound good with this library and you think you need the latest and greatest, I'm here to tell you, you are wrong. Clocking in at about 25 gigabytes, it uses the full version of Contact. It has a massive collection of more than 40 drums. It is deeply sampled. This is the first time I've ever used it, and it sounds fantastic. Let's dive in. So when you load up the instrument in Contact, you will see 4 folders. I'm going to kind of briefly go over each of the 4, though we'll be spending most of our time in the standard folder. Let's check out the ambiances. These would be very, very sound designy kind of patches. Lots of fun. Okay, you have 2 different layers, and then of course, you can go nuts. I feel like nobody does layers as well as Soundiron. And then of course you have all of your controls. There's an arpeggiator. You can change the key assignments and the layers. Let's play a couple more. Fantastic usable stuff that you can run underneath the track. Okay, so that is the ambience folder. I'm going to skip ahead to the dual tune layer folder. So you have a whole bunch of stuff in here. You have ensemble patches. You also have solo patches. Let's just load up the solo ethnic drums tune patch. Again, we have like kind of a layered system. Okay, so of course you can do whatever you want. You can change everything. You can change what those layers are. There's tons of fun that you just go nuts. That's the thing about Soundiron interfaces, is that they really just open up the hood and they let you just kind of go nuts. Okay, you have your mix. Okay, you have your close, mid, and far mics. I'm going to get into that, but I'm going to save that more for when we get into the standard folder. Okay, so this is kind of like, again, I feel like the ambiances and the tune dual layer are really for sound design type stuff, which you should pretty much always try to be adding to your compositions to really give it that kind of edge. Okay, then we have our Mega Mixer folder. This is where you can go absolutely nuts. Let's check out the ethnic drums folder. So as you can see up at the top, we have our 4 different layers of ethnic drums. And then if you look down at the keyboard, you have your different layers accounted for, color-coded. Percussion is one of my favorite things to program. Again, you have the arpeggiator, you have your full mix controls. There's a whole MIDI loops thing that you can fool around with, which I didn't get into. And there's an FX rack, which again, you can just, like, the possibilities are endless. You can tweak these to your heart's content. And then you have individual controls for each one as well. Now, where I spend pretty much all of my time is in the standard folder. So again, let's check out the ethnic drums. So I'm trying to play them at really, really low velocities so you can hear what they sound like in low velocities. So as you can see, you can get real quiet with these, but you can get real loud. What are you looking for in percussion libraries? You're looking for, first and foremost, you're looking for sound. They gotta sound good. These sound fantastic. Check that box. There has to be like a wide range of instruments. This has a ton of instruments. Check that box. It's got to be deeply layered, deeply sampled in terms of velocity layers. Check. We nailed that. And we're also looking for mic positions. Boom. We got that too. So what you're listening to right now is a close. All right, let me play you the mids. And then we have our far. Okay, sounds bloody fantastic. Usually what I like to do is I like to have a good mix of the close and then a little bit of the far. Sometimes I'll use the mids, but more often than not, that's kind of what I'm going for. You want that close sound. You don't want a whole lot of the room sound. I'm honestly genuinely surprised. I was a little bit unsure because I knew this was an older library, and I'm kind of genuinely surprised about how good it sounds. Again, you have MIDI loops section, and then a full FX racks. Okay, I didn't fool around with this. I mean, you can just get lost in this, and you can just tweak to your heart's content. I just kind of threw up some ensemble patches, and I just kind of went nuts with those. So now let me walk you through the composition. So I've layered this with a couple of different things. Because the close sound is so good, there's no reason you can't use this with any of your projects and mix it with any of your other libraries. In the red, we have the percussion patches. Bass toms, a couple of the clacks, cymbals, snares, a couple snares, and then some ethnic. And then I separated those by the close mic position, the far mic position, just to kind of build up the arrangement as we went along. Usually I have a few chords and a couple of ideas or some kind of melody. I did this differently because I'm wanting to highlight the percussion library. I recorded all the percussion first before I had actually programmed a note, which was actually kind of interesting. All these tracks were the first ones that I did, and then I started to bring in some kind of other stuff, which we'll get into. I'll solo out some of these percussion things so you can hear what I did with them, and then we'll have a track run through at the end. Okay, so we can just kind of start off with like those kind of cymbals. The only thing that I did with those cymbals is in the EQ. I was trying to get rid of some of that ringing noise. Sometimes cymbals can kind of eat away that upper frequency range, so I just wanted to scoop out some of that. So this is no EQ. And then we'll throw the EQ on. So you can hear that it just kind of mutes some of those high frequency ranges, which can just kind of maybe be a little bit too much. And then we mix it with some clacks, and then we have the snares. I've always been a big fan of snares. Let's listen to some of that. Okay, and then it's all about layers. As you can see, none of this percussion is looped. I think that is essential. Do not loop your percussion. If you're trying to get that cinematic sound, just get one big long performance and just get all those velocity layers in there, and just you'll find that it's a lot more fun to do it that way. Bass toms. I'm sure you could hear that was like the close mic selection. So I used a lot of close mics. I really like the sound of the attack on the drums. A couple different snare parts because again I wanted to build it. This one started to get a little bit tricky. So what I actually did is I slowed the tempo down on the song. I do this all the time when I'm recording percussion. I dropped it down 100 beats per minute, and then I recorded that part, and then I just brought it back in. So let's listen to that part. So I find with snares, especially when you overlay them with a couple of different parts, you start to make the patterns a little bit more interesting. That's when you really get some excitement in your recording. So it's all about build, build, build. Let's listen to the ethnic drums. This is like a close mic position. Okay, it's all about the layers just on its own. That might not sound super exciting in terms of how it's programmed, but you can tell by the sound of it in the close mic position, it was recorded wonderfully. Now let's listen to the same library, but this time we have the far mic positions. Now, if that was the same part, I could have just taken that same ensemble patch and I could have mixed the close and the far mics, but because I recorded two different parts, I just wanted them to be slightly different from each other. And again, it's just sort of, we start with the close and then we start to get some of that far position to get some excitement in the recording. Then in the purple, we have Hyperion strings, some violin sustains, we have cello and viola legato patches. We got some cello and viola shorts, along with some bass shorts, and then I threw in some of these ambience patches, which I thought sounded kind of cool. Let's just listen to a couple of these. This one in particular is really cool. Okay, so that's the ambient sounds that were, I guess, created from the Hyperion string original samples. That is just one patch, and it sounds so menacing. It's called Higgs Driver. Okay, so in a Hyperion strings, you can go in here and you just have like a ton of different patches, and then again, you can tweak them to your heart's content. The more use I'm getting to Hyperion strings, the more I can see how diverse it is and how many different things you can do with it. Why don't I play these strings together so you can hear how this sounds? So let's see. Okay, very, very lovely sound. Their stage mic positions, especially on the Hyperion strings, are absolutely fantastic. I think they're widely misunderstood. They were going for a very close, dry sound. There's going to be a video coming that I'm going to be covering Hyperion strings and how you can mix this string library with other third-party libraries. Then in the light blue, we have artillery shell cello. We've done a full review on this as well as the tempo drums if you haven't checked that out. I particularly like the short patches from the artillery shell cello. It just got such a strong attack. Sounds very cool. It just cuts right through the mix. Their tremolo patch is really cool too. And then I just have literally a sub sound from the tempo drums and then like a little sub patch. The bulk of the composition is all the percussion. If you're a percussion nut like me and you love programming percussion, you want realistic, authentic, deeply sampled sounds, the whole bunch of velocity layers, with mic positions, with an interface that is highly tweakable, then you can't go wrong with this library. It's a perfect complement to my percussion stuff that I already have. It's a lot of fun to work with. They put a lot of thought and a lot of care and a whole lot of work into their samples. That's it for me, friends. Stay safe. Catch you in the next one.